Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fashion Bunker. So, it seems that many young people can afford luxury items all of a sudden. Have you noticed? On social media, I mean, we're talking teenagers, we're talking early 20s. How? Well, apparently there's a secret here, and apparently we can reveal the secret. So let's reveal it together. First, subscribe to my channel here on the tubes. Push the join button next to the subscription button. Become a member today and gain access to extra perks. You can also join me on Patreon, superdacob all spelled together there for extra perks. This video is being filmed live in front of a live virtual audience. I live stream from time to time, believe it or not. And when I do, you're all invited to join the chats. To do so, be sure to click on the notifications bell so that you get notified when I live stream, so that you can partake in the chats. Speaking of chats, let's cue in my co-conspirators, darling. Now, everything I say in this video is for entertainment purposes only, not rooted in truths or facts. It's just my opinion. Everything's alleged. Listen, Debbie. And 5 heliotrope. Deb says, parents, Tina, mommy and daddy, 5 heliotrope. Fakes. They buy fakes. They wear fakes. Winnie B. Fakes for sure. Interesting the theories. But, well, there's an article by Yahoo News in which two people are talking. And in fact, a U.S. census, according to the Yahoo article, reveals that nearly half of all young adults ages 18 to 29 are still living at home. That's one of the highest marks that we've seen since 1940 in the United States. Nearly half. That means nearly 50% of young adults at the moment in the United States of America between 18 and 29 are living with their parents. What does this mean? What does this mean? This means that, well, they don't guts to pay the rent. If mom and dad, if they live with mom and dad have been paying the rent, they don't have to pay the rent. They, most of the time, don't have to pay for food because mom and dad are buying the food. And so they're living their best life, honey. They are shopping because of that money that they have. They might have a part-time job, a little something, here and there. They have that money to spend for what? Fashion. Passion for fashion, luxury. And the numbers say that expenditures have grown since the lockdown, aka the pandemic. Because what does this mean? This means that people were at home a lot, were not really leaving home. Anyway, bills were paid by mom and dad. They did not have to go out with friends to the movies, to whatever, the zoo, to a bar, if they're of age. So all that money was not spent. If they were earning any side gig money, side hustle money. So all of that money could be spent on, frivolities, darling. Some of those frivolities being luxury items. And there's a new report allegedly out from Morgan Stanley. Says that higher rents, greater enrollment in higher education, and also the fact that people are getting married later, that's all to blame and to put into this pot as well. So people are getting hitched a little bit later as well, having kids a little bit later as well. And it's usually the more educated, the people who can afford to go to school, to college and all that stuff, they usually don't get knocked up really early on in life. So it's usually the poorer classes that kind of end up, oh, I'm 15 and I got 3 babies. So there's that issue as well to understand and put into this perspective. But what is interesting, they also talk about the fact that it's not just America, it's the rest of the world as well. They're also analyzing Europe, and they also say that a lot of people in Europe also tend to live longer with their moms and dads because rents are really high everywhere. It's super expensive to buy a house. It's super expensive to buy an apartment. It's super expensive to rent. Students can't really afford, stuff like that. So they just avoid all of that altogether and just live with their parents. There's a lot of reasons why somebody decides to live with their parents. But Numbers don't lie. And the numbers are showing that there's been a humongous increase in consumption of luxury goods during the years of the lockdown. Isn't that fascinating? Luxury spending went up. What, 22% in 2022, largely driven by Gen Z living at home. This is just a bizarre trend. But it's good for the industry, says the person, Dave Briggs. It's interesting also that they say, it's important to point out, it's not just a US trend. Over in the UK, they're pointing out that 15 to 34-year-olds, that number living with their parents has climbed to about 42%, up from 35% in 1999. So it's not just America that is deciding to live with their parents longer. It's also other countries, and then the spending is higher. Now, is this a big myth? Have we debunked, or have we uncovered, have we unveiled a huge secret and a huge mystery? Not so sure. This neighborhood, these kids are spoiled or rotten, says Tina. Tina says, see fur coats and brand names all over. Yeah, there's a lot of young kids who can afford a lot. And I'm telling you, this already started happening before the lockdown. I remember many years ago when I was working in a one of the many places I worked in. One of them was a sneaker shop. Very interesting. How I literally, when Yeezys started coming up, and Yeezys with Adidas, right? When Kanye started doing his Adidas shtick, I kid you not, that was the time when I said, you know what, I'm leaving this job. This is insane. I can't handle sneaker world anymore. When kids started coming into the shop, we're talking 14-year-olds with a Centurion, black American Express card, and they just drop it on your desk and like, here, and take another $200 to put a shoe aside for me. Obviously, you're not putting the Yeezys aside for no one because it's always a raffle and a draw anyway. But when a 13 or 14-year-old started coming up, throwing credit cards around, that type of credit cards around, I was like, okay, we're done here. We are so done. Times have changed. Times have changed. Fabio says, Mommy, can you iron my Versace, please? Right, Fabio? Winnie says, both my daughters do have luxury. Good for them, Winnie. And do they live with you? Stanley Secret says, my dog is... your dog is going to make you broke. You have a luxury dog. Trisha says, I love my children to bits, but having children costs a lot of money. Yes. AJ says, the cost of living is getting out of hand. It really is. It really is. It really is. Trisha says, more people are not planning to have kids at all. And this is why first world countries are dying out. This is why I don't understand why governments, why certain extremist parts of the government are so keen on pushing this agenda. The immigrants, so bad, so bad. What are we talking about here? Stop lying. You're going to need immigrants to live, to keep living, because the natality of the country is -10 at this point. You know what I mean? Like, you're not getting any new people born, no new kids born. You need to have people to live in your country in order to have any sort of sustainable economy. You need to allow people to move in if they want to move in. And you need that to survive as a country, not to like, oh, let's be good and charitable to immigrants. You need that for yourself too, because your future, you don't have a future if the country has no natality. It's that simple, but people are just deciding not to have kids anymore. Debbie says, if you can stand living at home, yeah, if you can stand living with your parents, for sure. Of course, granted. But Kev says, where do I find a parent who would give me a Centurion? Well, you found a parent who would give you a Premier Chanel watch, which in my book is just as good, Kev. So I would not complain. I would think that's amazing, and more power to you. Jonna says, my father used to give me his credit card to shop in high school, and I got such weird looks because I already looked 13. I'm telling you, But when a kid then says, here, take $200 for yourself because they're trying to make you put aside a Yeezy for them. I'm like, girl, you're 14. You're already trying to bribe people and buy them? Girl, no. No. Trisha says, I agree, Dacob. Immigrants are important for a sustainable economy. And in general, this connotation of the word immigrant is such a negative, like a derogatory word. It shouldn't be. Most of America today is built up of immigrants who left Europe for the most part and didn't want to be there anymore and were looking for a better life. So it's those same people who are now like, oh, immigrants are terrible. We're terrible. I'm like, your grandparents were immigrants. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Come on. Kindle says, the issue once you develop a taste for luxury, it's hard to go back to anything else. True. But let me let you in on a little secret. Kindle, let me let you in on a little secret. Human beings are the most, together with rats, I think only cockroaches beat us to the punch. But human beings are the most adaptable creatures, living creatures. As fast as you get used to luxury, just as fast you can get used to literally not having money to eat. I've been through it all. I can tell you from personal experience. And I can also tell you how fast it goes. How fast it goes. Getting used to either or, not having anything or having everything. It switches just like this. It really does. And it is a fascinating thing how human nature adapts so quickly, because our instinct of preservation and survival is much stronger than our sense of being spoiled by luxury goods. Because once the sense of preservation and the instinct of survival kicks in, you're going to forget the luxury goods immediately. How quickly human beings adapt for the better, but also for the worst. It's insane. We are the cockroach. Debbie says, yep, only had ketchup and other condiments once. And Gloria says, you're right. You can adapt really fast. Tina says, I work hard and wait tables. Dog walking equals I see everything. Heartbroken, says Tina. It's classic lifestyle creep. It goes up and down and up. Exactly, Winnie. And I mean, I've been through a lot in my life. I'm not going to go, into too much detail, but I can tell you this one thing in my life. There was a moment where there was no food. And when food arrived finally, after months and months of having issues with complicated story. Anyway, long story short, I finally got a hold of my mom got me a bag full of peaches. I devoured the first peach. And it tasted like the best peach I've ever eaten in my life. I still remember to this day the flavor of that peach. Okay? It was so delicious. I craved a second peach. Now, the bag was full of peaches. She bought them just for me. The second peach, I devoured the second one as well, but the second peach tasted okay. It wasn't as good as the first peach. It was okay. Now, since there were more peaches there, luxury, I could have another one. Why not? It's there. I wasn't hungry anymore for a peach, but it was there. Now, the third peach, interesting. The third peach, I was already looking through the bag, picking the best looking peach of the bunch. That's how long it took me to rehabilitate myself to a normal standard of living. It literally took me the time to eat 3 peaches and I was back to being spoiled. I was just as quick to, go back to not having any peaches. But what I'm saying is that's how fast it goes. We are that quick to lose our humanity, but we are also that quick to become kings and queens. So get off your pedestals, get off your high horses, because we're all ratchet at the end of the day. Don't come here, doing the, yeah, I'm holier than thou. No. 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 Even the Queen of Great Britain had to kick the bucket, just like every other human being, right? We're all the same. So, human nature. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below and subscribe.